Welcome to the Get Trauma Informed podcast, dedicated to unraveling the complexities of trauma, its pervasive impact, and the journey towards holistic recovery and realignment. If your radiance has ever felt muted, like I and thousands of others, you're in the right place to reignite your inner light. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast. And on today's episode, we have an amazing guest that is here with us today. And before we get started, Justine, I'm going to have you pronounce your last name because I think it's so beautiful, but I don't want to mess it up.
It's Chartier. So, and my name is so Justine. It's actually a French name, so it's Justine Chartier.
Oh my goodness, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. How are you today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing really good. How about you?
I am doing well. I am so excited about this conversation. I'm blessed to have had a couple of conversations with you prior to. And so we're just going to get into this Get Trauma Informed conversation today. And before we get started, you are a seasoned registered nurse with over 12 experience in emergency and intensive care and highly acuity medicine. Am I reading this correctly?
Yeah, high acuity medicine. So I work in a high acuity hospital at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
It just kind of involves everything, basically.
Okay. Got it. Well, we're going to get into that as well. So we always start out with, what does Get Trauma Informed mean to you?
Oh my goodness. For me, I think it just involves like the awareness of how much it affects our body. Trauma and unresolved trauma leads to more stress on the body, and that affects us on a physiological level, a physical level, on every aspect of our being. When I work with individuals, I work with them on the 4 aspects of their human body. A lot of the times, all we do is pay attention to the physical aspect, but we have an energy body, we have a mental body, an emotional body, and a physical body, and and trauma affects absolutely every single one of those, especially on an energetic level. I know we were talking last week about kind of the energy blueprint. So whenever, depending on your belief systems about the energy field, but there are a lot of researches that you can go and look up the energy field on the human body. It completely like frays the system, and it takes a long time for everything to just energetically get back into place. And then after that, that affects your mental state and how you perceive things in the future. It affects things on an emotional state, how you trust yourself even, and then all of that put together also affects your cardiovascular system. It increases your blood pressure. You have troubles sleeping, you have anxiety, you have gut issues, you have like headaches and pains. And yeah, so for me, that's the most important part about being trauma informed, is just understanding how much it impacts the human body, and also how different it is and how much of a unique experience it is from person to person. Like physiologically, everybody has a threshold for how much stress that they can hold. And depending on the situations that are going on in your life, depending on how you grew up, depending on your belief system, depending on the people that you surround yourself, that all affects your threshold. So while others might be able to handle a really, really big stressful event because they have all the support systems and their threshold is huge, somebody else's might be here. So if you go above or below that threshold, you're either in a state of depression and lethargy, or you're trying to just kind of run away from your problems and you're like overstimulating yourself. Those are the people that you see that are constantly go, go, go. You have to distract yourself all the time, because if you sit, you'll start thinking about all of your problems, and that's when you kind of break down. So understanding that everybody's threshold is different, and just because you reacted to something that might have been a more significant event than somebody else doesn't mean that their experience was lesser than yours.
My goodness, you have just, I want to say, you just leveled the playing field for so many people. Like gave everybody the opportunity to just exhale, because there's always um, this misnomer about, well, this person suffered this and they reacted this way, and then this person suffered the same thing and they reacted this way. But you just build that out. It all of this takes you have to take in account all of the factors, not just this person is standing there looking at you and they're the same. If you say the same, even twins, right? Even if you put twins in the same experience, I have twin granddaughters and I watched them and I saw how one and they're identical twins, they're only 2 minutes apart. And one is just carefree and she bounces all over the world. But the other one, she even walking, she was a little bit more guarded because she fell as she fell. And so she
Mhm.
fell from like her high chair, what have you, but she tumbled. And so she now has an awareness that, fall, there's pain. The other one, there's, she's just, so looking at that's what you just described, that they're identical. Like I have to look at them really hard to see who is who and their personalities are different. And now I can kind of tell. But that's so important. And that is something that re-traumatizes people over and over again, because people do not have that understanding that two trauma experiences are totally different.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And yeah, it's just about giving people grace, and so many people I think are even afraid to share their story because they're afraid of, well, am I overreacting, or, am I just being a baby? Like I should be able to suck this up, but like that's so incredibly harmful. We need to feel the things that we've been through. And it's not to say, like, and especially depending on the situation too, I think sometimes a lot of people will try to justify the situation because they don't want to put the other person that traumatized them in a place of negativity. Does that make
Yes,
sense?
it
Like,
does.
especially for childhood trauma with our parents, like we can all say that our parents were doing their best, absolutely 100%. And that's not to say that our parents were bad people. It's just nowadays, as society evolves, um, like our lives are more complicated and we need different things. We need better communication. There's more demands on us on a daily basis than there was in the past. And there's just like more that we need and more kind of support that we need. And I'm sure they needed it too when they were growing up, but they didn't receive that because it was just kind of unknown. So now it's like breaking down those barriers and breaking those generational traumas too. And that's how you do it, is by changing and by increasing the communication, increasing that bond. Yeah, because I hear so many times like people say, well, I grew up like that. Well, I grew up like that. And it's like, okay, but did you enjoy that? Did you
Right.
enjoy that part of growing up? Like, if you didn't enjoy that and you wanted something better, well, now is your chance to change and do something different. And that breaks those generational traumas. Um,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, that's so important. That's so important. And what you just talked about the energy, I think people just don't have a good understanding about that. But if you stop and you pay attention, when you walk into the room, if your energy is high, you can change the atmosphere. If your energy is low, you can also change the atmosphere, and also energy transfers, right? So you can
Yes.
affect the energy of the whole atmosphere. But oftentimes I think we sort of walk around kind of sleepwalking. That's what I call it. We walk
Hmm.
around sleepwalking and we're not aware and we're not, but if you think about it and just sit back and look, and when you really pay attention, and I don't know, I think it's because of a lot of the trauma. Most people, not everybody, a lot of people are walking around really stressed out, and so we're just walking through life like with blinders on, just sleepwalking to the next task. Is how many times have you driven somewhere and then when you get there, you don't remember the drive?
Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, oh my goodness, how did I get here? Well, I feel like if something significant happened, I would have remembered that.
Right, exactly, exactly. Other than that, we're just on this whole wheel. But I'm so into the energy aspect of it, and I think if we even if you rub your hands together, you can feel the energy between your hands, and we
Yes.
ignore that important part. So I think that's so important. I know we talked about mindset and energy. That was something you and I
Yes.
had discussed before it. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yes, the energy aspect is so incredibly important, and I work a lot with people on their energy body, and yes, the mindset shifts as well, and that all stems from your energy field. Um, Everything again like starts from the energy aspect and then dwindles down into the mental, the emotional and the physical. So anything that really affects your energy is anything that compromises your beliefs and your values. So if you're put in a position that this is how I want to be treated, this is how I value communication with others, um, and you're put in a state of where you're having to compromise your boundaries. And if you do compromise your boundaries and you don't speak up for how you want to be treated, if you don't speak up for the things that you believe in, then that hinders your energy field. And that causes what we call trapped energy or trapped emotions. So you're having this experience, but you're not dealing with it. Instead, you're just shoving it down. And then you can almost feel, as like you said, a lot of us are walking around with our blinders on, and that's so true. Like we call it, or I call it a veil, what I say, like we have to lift the veil of everybody, because yeah, so many people are just turned off to such a huge part of our such a huge part of our being, and that's the energy aspect of it. And like you said, we all kind of vibrate off of each other. We're all just like tuning forks. You hit the tuning fork and it vibrates, and if this one's not going, you hold them up against each other, it will start to vibrate. And there's so many different aspects of our energy too. Like we do have the physical energy, that's like our heart is beating, our thoughts are energy, our cells, those function on energy, and those can vibrate off of one another. And then you have, yeah, the emotional aspect of it. So if I'm very in my emotional body and yeah, my energy is low, like you said, I can affect your energy field. And there's so many different ways to transfer energy too. Like I could project my energy onto you. If I'm very powerful in my energy and you don't have your energy boundaries up, I could project energy onto you, negative energy onto you. Positive energy is always great. I can project positive energy onto you as well.
Right.
But even in those regards too, it's so important to also remember that your energy is really your energy. And when you are trying to help others, that you should be calling in their energy and not expelling your own, because that can also be very detrimental to you too. And oh shoot, now I lost my train of thought. Yeah,
That's
so every
I was gonna say
okay.
that's okay because everything that you said is so powerful. You're in an energy flow of good. Energy flow of good. I just made up a new term there, but I love it because I encounter so many people on the podcast, and we talk about all of the different types of trauma, and I'm an empath, so I feel what other people feel. It's not just I
Mhm.
understand what you're saying; I actually feel it. So I do believe that this is a calling for me, and to be able to like understand people's energy, understand that. But I'm just getting so deep into, I had a surface level of understanding about the energy, but the more and more I understand about it, I'm like, wow, that's why I felt that with that person. Or, actually feel it. I think a lot of people don't even understand why they are feeling somebody else's pain, not just being, sympathetic for somebody, but actually feeling it. That's a whole different
Yes.
level.
Yes, yes. And I feel like, again, so many people are turned off to that, that even people suffering with like chronic pain, chronic illness, just having that awareness that, okay, this could be affecting, or this is affecting me. How many times do I push back my boundaries? I need to be, I need to be taking care of myself on absolutely every single level. Um, oh, shoot. And you brought up something really important. Yes. And also having your energy boundaries very high. And if you are set high in your energy field, then other people's low energy doesn't necessarily affect you. Or that's kind of what we're trying to get to when I work with people with their energy field. Like we're trying to get to the point where we're so high that all of these lower vibrations don't affect us. I think we talked about this last time too. It's like the toddler theory. You have
Yes.
this little toddler and they're just so set in who they are. They know exactly who they are. They want to dress up like a little unicorn princess and say, "Hey, I'm a princess."
Yes.
You cannot tell them otherwise. Like they are a princess, and that's where we have to be. And this is something super incredibly important too with somebody just starting out with their business, especially a business online or becoming like an entrepreneur. If you're not set in those that energy, then being online, if something that's very scary for you or something that has kind of triggered an event in the past, you can that can affect your energy field. And then you can bring up kind of all those fears of not wanting to be online. And then you can kind of sabotage your business at the same time because you're having this fear that you're not necessarily dealing with because of a past event. And to other people, when you come online, there's so many other people watching you. And energetically, if they don't agree with you and they're just kind of like spewing off these like thoughts in their head, energetically, that does reverberate to you. And if you're not set in your energy field, you could be absorbing that. And then all of a sudden you're like, you're not making any progress and you're very confused on where you need to go. And you're having all of these like different thoughts that are coming up in your head. And you're like, where is this even coming from? Could literally be coming from anywhere.
Wow, that's so interesting. How would you go about just like one tip on pulling up your energy?
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Imagine driving down the road, enjoying a beautiful day when suddenly a tree jumps out in front of your car. Crash! In an instant, your life is flipped upside down, both physically and psychologically. That was my reality. I'm Liz Blanding, a certified holistic wellness and trauma recovery coach. In a time when, according to the National Center for PTSD, the epidemic of trauma is on the rise, 70% of adults in the U.S. have experienced some type of traumatic event at least once in their lives. That's 223.4 million people who could benefit from support on their journey to recovery. To address this, I launched the Get Trauma Informed podcast in March 2024. Our podcast offers free information, resources, expert advice, and stories of those who have overcome trauma and shifted from surviving to thriving. The podcast has the capacity to reach hundreds of thousands of people. I believe that by partnering with the Get Trauma Informed podcast, we can provide critical support to many more people who need it. Trauma was not their fault, but recovery is their responsibility. And with your support, we can help them to achieve it. Thank you for considering the partnership opportunity. I look forward to the possibility of working together to make a significant impact on trauma recovery. Email us at info@oasiswellnessctrs.com or contact us at 616-320-0703. Now we will return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
Really sitting with yourself and discerning your energy from others. And I say really getting clear on your values and beliefs is number one. Like if you are clear on your values and beliefs, then you'll know when you have to step up and when you're being called to action, because the universe will always put things into play or kind of not test you, but they're always trying to make you do better and be better. So you can almost see on like different patterns of when you've been tested in the past to like speak up, maintain your boundaries, maybe walk away from something. And if you don't take the action when you're being called to do it, it'll just keep coming up into your life on a different level or even a more significant level. And that's when we kind of see these people where it's like all of a sudden my whole life imploded. It's because the universe was giving you signs to get out a long time ago and you didn't listen. So now you have that like catalyst effect where everything shifts. And yes, meditation is really super, super important too. Because then you can get more clear signs and be able to talk to your body better, and be able to get that information from your higher self. And then you can get more answers. Like you ask questions. Is this my energy? Like, is this something that I need to deal with from the past? Or is this just my ego trying to protect me, or my fear, or somebody else's energy projecting onto me? And just being able to like sit in that space with that clear mind, that is so incredibly helpful, and you get your answers really quickly, but it does take time.
I was going to say, yeah, I was going to ask about that, about
Yes.
taking time and giving your own self grace to be able to sit in meditation. This taken
Yes.
years for me to quiet Grand Central Station down in my head, right?
Oh my goodness,
So it
yes.
takes, I'll sit there and I just shutting it down. But the funny thing is that when you start to get clear on how to meditate and that how important it is to meditate. And then when you sit there, you realize how your brain is absolutely racing. For
Oh my goodness.
myself, I couldn't figure out, like, don't chase that. Well, first, okay, let the thoughts go or whatever. Then after a while, it's like, stop chasing that thought because I'm all the way over here. I'm supposed to be sitting here. Wait a minute, I'm all the way over here and I'm sitting here. And I'm like, okay, I'm telling myself. So meditation it's been challenging for me, but it's also been so good for me to now be able to start to bring it down. So, so what would you say someone like that started where I started? Now I'm better at it, but we started where I started, where the races were just circulating, and you could not, like, in that moment, stop your mind from racing. What would you tell them?
Yes, absolutely. Give yourself grace. And I actually do teach people how to ground and meditate properly, because grounding is one of the first things too. If you're trying to meditate, you really do need to learn how to ground into your body. And that's because your energy has no time constraint. So it can be in the past, in the present, in the future. And also, depending on your beliefs in the energy system or the energy world, we have like different parallel universes, and all of those can be seeping into your timeline and affecting your energy now. So one of the most important things is to ground in your body, because your body is the only thing that's set in the present moment. So when you have those like squirrely thoughts where it's like you're thinking about a conversation that happened years ago, or you're thinking about something that's going to happen in the future, is because your energy is probably actually living those, and you need to bring it down into your body to be able to ground itself in the present moment. And a lot of different tips that I say for that is really visualization, and visualizing like roots growing from your body, from your hands, from your toes, from your spine, all the way down into not even just into the earth, but into the core of the earth. And just like feel the warmth and the fuzziness, and like feel the support that the earth gives you and the energy that it gives you. And then as far as meditation, yeah, give yourself grace, do guided. So many people think that they can do things on their own. Guys, no, we don't do anything on our own. We had parents to support us and guide us. Teachers have teachers, doctors have doctors, therapists have therapists, spiritual healers have spiritual healers. Everybody needs help. You are not in this alone. There's so many different guided meditations, and it does take time to find something that resonates with you. Like, just like therapy, energy work is the same thing. If you're feeling like icky in the work that you're doing, you need to change it up, because that can also be detrimental on your energy field, because now you're ignoring the signs of your body saying, hey, I don't like this. We need to try something different. And it's also interconnected. It's crazy.
Yes.
And yeah, I started very slow because I was the same. I had such a squirrely brain, and it's still the same. Like, there's still a lot of thoughts going on. I used to actually have to sleep with the TV on so I could quiet my mind. Like, that's how it was, because otherwise I couldn't fall asleep. And it's just recognizing that that is normal. Like, we are humans, our brain is busy. We're going to like squirrel, squirrel, squirrel all the time. And it's just about redirecting your focus and noticing, like, okay, that's a thought. Let's bring this back. That's a thought. Let's bring this back. And it's the same thing with changing absolutely anything. When you're trying to like change your diet around to become, have more healthier habits, you're constantly going to see those chips and want them. But it's about recognizing, like, okay, I have to put this back and I have to choose something better. Um, yeah. And then when you start working on the energy field at the same time as you are working on those different things and like resolving traumas, it makes things easier, because you're kind of releasing that negative energy towards the things that you had in the past. So now you can see things from just like a bird's eye view of what you need to learn about the situation, how you need to move forward.
I love, yes, I love that. I
Yeah.
love, you've said so much about, support. I think that's one of the big things in trauma. When you've suffered through trauma, oftentimes you isolate, and that's
Hmm.
detrimental to your recovery, because isolation, you can't, you're stuck with your own mind as your own frame of reference, and that's the part that's been shattered already. So in order to get new, we need to pour those new things in, open ourselves up for, like you said, for energy work, and really getting a deep understanding of what energy work is. Understanding that we all are not islands. I love that point that you just made about, energy workers have energy workers, therapists have therapists, and I think that's oftentimes you feel like we have to have that that superhero cape on, and we have to be everything to all people and everything to all things. And it's like, come on, let's breathe. Put that cape in the cleaners, or put it in a dumpster or something, and then move forward. And what you're describing is adding to what we advocate for is self-care, giving ourselves permission that it's okay to take care of ourselves, right? And also that it's okay not to be okay sometimes, to be able to like redirect and pivot and be able to say, hey, today is a good day. Like, wow, it's a good day. Well, today maybe it's not such a good day, but it's okay. And not to judge ourselves and not be so hard on ourselves. So I love everything. You just gave so many permissions. You gave so many permissions for, sometimes we just need to hear that. And sometimes it seems simple, but then it's not.
Yeah. Well, and especially in a society like ours today, again, there's so many demands on us. And like you said, it's okay to not be okay, and we need to give ourselves grace. And yeah, when your body is being called to rest, rest and rest with no guilt. And that is so difficult for so many people. Rest with no guilt. Yes, you have a task list, but if you try to keep doing that and not taking the time to rest like your body is requiring you to do, you're going to be forced to rest for a lot longer later on down the road.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. We were going to shift to talk about, I mean, you had a powerful story about, 18 years of migraines. Wow.
Yes, that was not fun. And I do not wish migraines on anybody. They are completely debilitating. I don't think there's as much information out there. Well, there's a lot more increasing information, definitely. But that too, like through working with the energy work, and working, originally I had gotten into the energy work to help with my anxiety and depression at the time. And while working with the energy work, I cleared my migraines. I've had 3 in the last 2 years, and now I know what I need to do. So I know that I need to maintain my boundaries. I need to emotionally regulate, and I need to take care of myself, of course, on a physical level as well, with my health and my diet. Um, and yeah, everything just kind of like fell into place once I started doing the energy work. It's so crazy. It opens up so many pathways. Um, yeah, and the same thing with, the mindset shifts too. It all dwindles down. And it's really about, yeah, taking the time, and it's not easy. It does take time. It's just like going to the gym and, trying to like build a six pack. You're having to build new neurological pathways, just like you would have to like grow muscle. It all takes time, and we just need to, give ourselves time.
That's good. That's good. Know what you just said. A lot of what we're doing is bringing awareness, because, like acknowledging where you are and then bringing awareness and then moving forward with the self-care plans. And what you just talked about understanding your triggers, that's key, because some of my triggers, I didn't even know were there, but then when you start to listen, when you start to meditate and you start listening to your body tells you, guides you, directs you. And so when you start opening yourself up to that, and that again goes right into the mindset shift, it goes into all of it works together, just like that dangerous hamster wheel that we find ourselves on, the hamster wheel of destruction, or the addiction cycles and all of this destructive. If we start to replace and pull one thing out and put something positive in there, put something in there that's going to help us in our self-care plan, like I feel so much better every morning that I get up and I'm on my bike for at least 30 minutes a day. And one of the things that one of my trainers told me, because I had a knee injury from my accident, was to walk backward, right? And I started walking backward, and now I ride backward, and it is helping my knee tremendously. But then when I don't get up and do that work, I don't get up and do the meditation, I don't get up and drink my water and hydrate myself, then we have a downhill day. So now then you start to understand, you do a little bit and a little bit. It's like, how do you eat an elephant? Like one bite at a time. You don't do the whole thing at one time, because then you set yourself up for failure. So one thing at a time. Okay, maybe I don't get enough water in. Okay, drink another 12-ounce bottle of water today. Drink another, and give yourself the time. I think, like you said, we're on this speed of everything. And it's like when you slow down, and that's something that you brought here today too. You brought this calmness. I loved the energy because I felt your energy. I actually instantly got calm because I had a busy morning. I already, shot a podcast already. And so I was already kind of wired. And then when we started to talk, I could feel the energy transfer. And you brought me into that space of calmness. It's okay to be calm right now. So I thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Real-time energy work, y'all. Real-time energy work, right?
And it's so true. And that's just how we kind of reverberate off of each other. And I see this all the time in the hospital too, when a code happens, when, poop hits the fan, essentially, if you have a leader that's not grounded in their energy and that's very stressed out, nothing works. Nothing works properly. But then you have that one person that runs the show, that's running the code, that just comes in there with that calm energy and like, okay, I'm here. I got this. You guys can all lean on me. This is what we're going to do. And everything shifts in like 2 seconds. It's just crazy. And that's so important to remember. And I just want to bring up the triggers that you pointed out too. Just because I talk about triggers a lot with people with like chronic pain, chronic illness, and migraines. And I think it's so important to really look at those triggers and try to go back to the time where you can first remember your experience with those. Because generally speaking, with those triggers, there's a negative emotion, negative energy attached to it. And then when you're faced in that situation or placed with that quote unquote trigger now, it's bringing your body back energetically to when it happened the first time. So if we can understand how that trigger came to be at the beginning, then we can disassociate that trigger from that pain or that inflammatory response.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. As I talk about that all the time about understanding your triggers, and understanding your triggers. And then you can even walk when you get trauma informed, and that's what we're talking about. When you get trauma informed, it also helps you to inform other people because it's not, it's not well known. Like we don't talk about it. And that's because we go back into the isolation, we go back into denial. We go back into, I don't want to be stigmatized. I don't want to, all of these emotions that happen. So it's really it's like, I want to say so important and imperative that we understand our own triggers and that we give ourselves permission to educate other people around us, because oftentimes people they're not being mean. They just don't know. They don't understand. And because we come into the world all, what I remember an instance where I had a dental issue and I was really, really sick. But my son never came to check on me. And I was upset the next morning because I literally had to crawl to get water. I was so sick. And he never came to check on me. And when he came in the morning and he said, how are you? And I just was in my little rant and rave and everything. And he said, Mom, you go into your room, you come out, you're all made up and you're fine. You never let anybody know that you're not doing okay. So how was I supposed to know? And I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I've trained people that I don't need help, but that I'm okay by myself. And then when I really do need it, he said, you could have yelled.
Yeah.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Today's episode is sponsored by Oasis Wellness Centers, home of Soothing Salve, an organic pain relief salve infused with over 30 natural herbs. It fights inflammation, provides pain relief, relieves stiffness, relieves dry and itchy skin, and it also improves circulation. Oasis Wellness Center's mission is dedicated to relieving pain, promoting relaxation, and restoring mobility. In order to grab your jar today, contact us at www.oasiswellnessctrs.com. Now we return to our Get Trauma Informed conversation.
We say that all the time too, just like open communication, nobody's mind readers. We definitely need to,
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure.
and
for sure.
ask for help when we need, for sure. Oh my goodness. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So there was we were talking about, so oftentimes like I get into some of the conversations like prior to or after I get into the conversations, and then and then the trauma comes up, and then we talk about it, we go over it, and that's one of the reasons why I'm so grateful to be in this type of work, because not only has it been my own life's experience as far as trauma and trauma triggers, but I'm also able to help and guide other people through their traumas as well. And I think one of the important pieces is that it's a safe environment, a
Oh my goodness.
non-judgmental environment.
Mhm. Oh my goodness. Yes. And that's the hugest part too, that non-judgmental environment. That like, yeah, that absolutely safe space. And you offered that to me last week. And we didn't even talk about that last week when we were supposed to do this call. I had something significant going on and we started recording the podcast and I just burst into tears and you completely offered me that safe space. Like I didn't even know that that was going to happen until I got on the call with you. And it was again just that energy. And you offered me that space to be vulnerable, to break down, to process, to grieve. And I really can't thank you enough for that because I think that definitely helped for the entire week too.
Oh,
And yeah, just to say, like, we help others with this. Like, I help others with this as well, but we still need that safe space for others or from others, because we can't do it on our own. I mean,
absolutely.
eventually later on down the line, like, yeah, maybe, but I feel like you're always going to go through different events that you will need the guidance and support of others because we're all human, we're all growing, we're all learning, and nobody knows what they're doing next, essentially. Like, it's all just
Absolutely.
minute by minute.
Right. And I'm grateful for that. And I've putting together a team in a group so that we can pull together a roundtable of support, and so that we can offer that weekly support for, and I think part of the community of people that have gone through trauma is that, again, that safe space and peer to peer. That's the
Mm.
challenge, right? Because oftentimes when we go into a therapist or we go, which I'm advocate of, we need multiple modalities of help to get us through this, right?
Yes.
And a supportive community of peer to peer, I believe, is one of the things that's missing. Through our training, we had to attend some of the AA meetings. We had to attend some of the, Al-Anon meetings, some of the ACA meetings and such. And the one thing was no crosstalk. And oftentimes I see people there and I really like just want somebody to give me some feedback, right? And
Hmm.
so I have not seen the community of where those meetings are absolutely necessary and they are amazing, but also to have that next step, because that's what we're asking, like, what's next?
Hmm.
So because I'm so creative, I said, you know what, I think that's what we need, a roundtable of support. So in August, we are launching a roundtable of support. More information will be coming, but I definitely want you to be a part of it as much as you can, because all of the expertise that we can bring together in this holistic community to let people know that you do have a choice. And I just think that is something that is definitely needed, and I want to fill the gap in that space.
Oh my goodness. Yes. No, I'm so excited for that. I can't wait to see that. That's amazing. And that is so incredibly needed. Yes.
Yeah, they said
Oh,
sometimes you invent or you create things that you need and then you share it with other people. So, I'm excited about it too, because I've been looking
yeah.
for it, and I said, well, you know what? Sometimes if you can't find what you're looking for, hey, create it, and then
Exactly.
it'll help other people and bless other people as well. So, looking forward to doing that, and I'm just really excited about things to come. What do you have going on your plate or your platter? Because that's what we carry now. There's no more plates. We carry
No
platters.
plates. We carry
What do you
platters.
have
We
going on?
do. Well, I have been collaborating with my hospital actually I just sent off a proposal to them to bring in energy awareness and somatic training to hospitals for nursing staff and healthcare staff to be able to kind of hold more space for them and their patients and ultimately increase patient care. That's a lot of my focus at this time. And I do work individually with clients to help them gain energy awareness and work with them through kind of learning how to meditate, learning how to goal set, and learning how to ground. And I have little mini courses on meditation. And I just really want to get the awareness out there for people too. Like, this is, you can change your life. You really can. Like, with guided focus and aligned action, like, you can really make anything possible.
That's amazing. I
Shoot,
love it.
there was something else that I was gonna talk about that I can't remember now. That's okay.
Okay. Well,
It'll come back to me.
that's okay. That means we'll have to have a part two.
Yes,
That means
yes.
you have to come back because I am absolutely sure that you are going to be a fan favorite because you bring such peace. And I love that whenever I can align with someone that has that peaceful energy and it's just an awareness. I mean, I don't know. It's beautiful. I guess here we go. We're talking about it's energy. That's
It
what it
is.
is.
It's all energy.
Trying
Yes.
to figure out some big elaborate name for it. There is no big elaborate name for it. It's energy. That's what it is. And you have
Yes.
amazing energy. Is there anything? Well, we have a couple other questions too. We got into our conversation, and and sometimes, which I love what I do, and what you just said too is so important about loving what you do. There's been some work that I've done that I didn't really like the work. I wasn't. It was, but when you start walking into your true purpose, I say my person when I started to walk through my recovery and really get into the understanding of what trauma is all about. What is PTSD? What is complex PTSD? What is this that they're telling me that I'm dealing with? What is this? When I really understood it and understood how to overcome that, and then got into more of doing the work. And everybody is saying, you're out here, you're actually doing a podcast. Yes, I'm doing the podcast. You're not keeping, we were taught, keep your business to yourself, keep it quiet or what have you. No, we get sick when we do that. So now that I'm spreading it out to the world, I tell you, it's such a freedom. It's no longer hiding in shame and swallowing and just, it's now being free to say, look, there's a whole tribe of people out here. 8% of the population are, have suffered with PTSD or CPTSD. There's a whole 70% of the population that suffer from trauma. Let's talk about it. Let's get trauma informed. Let's help other people to get trauma informed. Let's meet people such as yourself that can help us to understand and balance our energy and to get those pockets of energy that's stuck. Let's get it out. Let's get it up and out. And I just think that the world would be such a better place if we could just come together and just love on one another and have that community that we can now feel safe. So I'm excited. As you can tell, I'm passionate about this and I have to contain myself and seatbelt myself into my chair. So I'll be bouncing off the walls.
No, that's so good. And I love that because that's so true. Like you need to be aligned with the things that you're doing. Like if you're not aligned with any aspect of your life, if you're not aligned, you need to fix that. And sometimes that can take time too, but just throwing it out there to the universe that like I want better, I want focus on what you do want, not on what you don't want. That's a huge thing too, because
Powerful.
you will attract the things that you don't want if that's all you're thinking about.
That's so
Been there,
powerful.
done that.
Me
Don't do
too.
that.
Hello.
Focus on the things that you do want.
Yes, yes. The
Um,
the second question is how has trauma empowered and inspired you?
oh my goodness. On the daily, it really does. And just the setting that I'm into, like not even my personal experience, but the stories that I hear from other people at the hospital. Like I truly love to get to know my patients and offer them that safe space and just um and yeah, offer them that safe space for them to say whatever they need to say and not feel guilty about it to be able to heal. Um, and same thing for me, just understanding my traumas and now having done that and being migraine free and now stepping into this business and communicating the things that I want and getting my voice heard, that has impacted me in such a huge way. I used to be so incredibly shy. I used to basically just kind of live under a rock and be a little hermit, and I was fine with that. But now it's like, no, there's so much to talk about. There's so much to say, and I need to get it out there. And granted, we're all experts in things that we really don't want to be experts in. Let's face it. If we had the option, we wouldn't have gone through all these traumas. But at the same time, it's like, okay, it happened. It sucked. Now what can we do with it? Let's go
Absolutely.
big from here. Yeah.
Yes, that's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. What would you say to someone that's facing trauma?
Get support. Talk about
Mm,
it. Talk about it. I think that's the hugest thing. I know for me, when I was going through my experience, okay, another thing, talk about it. Don't be held in shame and guilt.
good, good, good,
Um,
good.
for me, the reason that I didn't communicate about the things that I was experiencing for so long was because I felt shame about it. I have felt shame for so many reasons, but for kind of allowing myself to be put in a situation, if that's like what had
Yes.
happened. And that's like so incredibly detrimental. It again, that put me into a huge depression, and I was waking up with anxiety attacks. And once I just started opening up about it and speaking about it, that helped. I think that's the biggest thing, and really find your right supports. And oftentimes your right supports might not be your family and friends. If you don't feel like they can support you, like you need to just find and seek the help of a professional or a coach or anything. And also, sorry.
Yes, that's okay. No,
And
no, you're
also,
on a great roll. No, no, please go ahead.
um, your therapist or the person that you are speaking to, it might not be the right fit the first time. It might
Yes.
not be. And sometimes it is trial and error to find that right person that you do feel energetically connected with and you do feel safe with. Because if you're not feeling safe again, then you're not going to get out the things that you need to, and you're not going to be able to heal in the proper way.
That
Yeah.
is so important. Absolutely important. Think listening to yourself when something feels off, like really paying attention to that and giving yourself permission to say no, thank you, and move on. I think
Yes.
oftentimes we have that false sense of loyalty, like we're hurting somebody's feelings or we're letting them down, or like you said, some of the shame and all the guilt that comes along with it, and it's like, "Ah, that's too heavy. I don't want to carry that anymore. Toss it in the trash and go ahead and
Yeah.
allow yourself to live the best life that you can live." And that's why I say when I recovered and now I understand, I didn't even think, I thought it was one and done. You go through it, you recover, and now you're good. No, you must maintain your self-care plan. You must keep yourself, and it's okay to be a priority. You're not, Lisa Nichols talked about this. She talks about giving from your saucer and not from your
Yeah.
cup. And I think part of when you've gone through trauma after trauma after trauma, or even a huge trauma, you'll start giving from your cup and get depleted. And therefore, if
Hmm.
your cup is depleted, you don't have anything else to give, not even to yourself. So it's so important to give ourselves permission to take care of ourselves.
Oh, yes.
Yes, my goodness, you have been absolutely amazing. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours and not let you go. You're one of my fan favorites as well.
I feel the same. Like, I can't believe it's already been over 40 minutes.
I know,
Crazy.
right? Oh my
Yes.
goodness.
Oh my
But you
goodness.
know what? It's been such an easy, gentle conversation, and that's what we need. The world is so rah, rah, rah in your face. And when you can
Yeah.
find a gentle, soft space to land in, I think that's just amazing. Is there anything else that you would like to leave our listeners with today? And yes, I already hear you guys talking. We're going to have her back. I promise.
Yeah, no, I just think, yeah, I think the most important thing to remember is just rest when your body is calling you to rest. And that is
Rest.
it. That is your only priority, is
And you said
give
two
yourself
amazing
rest.
things. You said energy and you said rest. So if we take
Yes.
anything away from today's conversation, make sure that you work on your energy and that you give yourself the space to rest. Thank you so much for being here today. You've been absolutely
Yes.
incredible. I look forward to what
Thank
we're
you.
going to forge together in the future.
Oh, I'm so excited. And thank you for having me. Yeah, I could talk to you for hours. Oh my goodness. I love this conversation. Thank you so much, Liz.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody. Bye for now.
It's time to buckle up. No more suffering in silence. Our Power Pack journey to recovery and realignment starts now. Remember, you were collateral damage on someone else's warpath. Trauma is not your fault. Recovery, however, is your responsibility. I'm your host, Wellness Coach Liz Blanding, and this is the Get Trauma Informed podcast.